Bismillah.
Bismillah. The chapter, you are the initiator of the book Physicians of the Heart, and you decided to bring 4 authors together for this book project many years ago, and they have a very different background. And can you say a few words about how the whole book project started and what the whole book is about? This book, which is now translated into German as Medizin des Herzens, 99 Heilungswege der Sufis.
Ja, danke schön. Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. Ich kann Deutsch verstehen, aber ich kann nicht gut sprechen, so I'll speak in English, and so happy to have this opportunity. In 2000, I should go back. That there's an approach to changing your consciousness so that loving kindness and compassion and happiness can bloom. The practice is reciting sacred sounds that can transform your consciousness. And in the form that we've inherited from our Sufi lineage, it's called the 99 Beautiful Names of God. I received this practice, many of the practices, from my teacher back in 1969, 1970. He received them from his teacher. And when I received them, we just got a single page with one word descriptions of what each word meant. And over the long period, I felt, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a book, and in my case, in the English language, a real reference book, like a physician's desk reference. So in 2001, I was meditating as a regular practice, and I had been meditating for 30 years at that point. And in the meditation, I was complaining. I said, it's not really the form of meditation. Why don't we have a proper text in English? And so my inner guidance said to me, well, please help us out. And I accepted. So at that point, I committed myself to creating a book that would be a proper desk reference, like a physician's desk reference for physicians of the heart. And I knew I couldn't write that book myself, and so I started gathering other scholars and practitioners who could help. And the first one was a man named Faisal Muqaddam, transpersonal psychologist, one of the founders of the Diamond School, and also from Kuwait, so a native Arabic speaker. So that was an extraordinary advantage. And then within a month, I was in touch with another colleague named Imam Bilal Hyde, an American Islamic or Quranic scholar, someone who went to the old Arabic, and in Imam Bilal's words, he said, my favorite book is the dictionary. And so now the three of us worked together, and we met together month by month. Everything was recorded and transcribed, and that was a 5-year process. Now we're at 2006, and we have 1,000 pages of text that we've created from our dialogue together. And now we needed a really great writer and someone who understood the material to turn all our voices into one voice. And my dear colleague, one of my oldest friends, one of the senior teachers in our lineage, Wali Ali Meyer, was so interested in what was happening. And I said to Wali, Wali, would you be our editor? Would you turn this into a text? And his inner guidance said yes. And then that began the next phase of the writing of the book. And that took another 5 years. So it took 10 years to make this book. And then we were very happy to publish in 2011.
So all the teachers and people who contributed also a universal aspect to the whole project. So can you say a little bit more about that and how far it is universal?
Yeah. So from our point of view, mysticism or the guidance to fulfill the purpose of your life is universal, and the instructions to that are written on every cell of every living being. And so we find ourselves in a Sufi lineage, but for us, Sufi means to awaken to your true potential. So it's very correct that the Sufis use the wisdom that's come down the ages through the great prophets and masters and saints. It would be very, very appropriate for us to study these beautiful names of God and the teachings we've received. But because awakening and love and compassion are the birthright of every being, that means it can't be owned by any one religion. So if you were to ask me if I was Muslim, I would say definitely. But if you asked me, am I Christian, I would say absolutely. And if you ask me if I'm Jewish, I would say for sure, and Buddhist. And really speaking wider than that, am I a lover of nature? Is my religion the beauty of life? I would say yes. And if you would ask me, is music my religion? I would say for sure. And if you'd ask me if gardening was my religion, I would say yes. So in that way, we're multi-denominational, not non-denominational.
Wow, that sounds beautiful. So if people want to work with the book, depending on if they're experienced students and practitioners or total beginners, what would you recommend? What would you encourage people to do?
It's a beautiful question, and traditionally, these names have been passed down from experienced person to another person. So, in other words, if I'm a guitar player and I've practiced my whole life and I've become a master guitar player, then if you study guitar with me, that'd be useful because it speeds things up. So naturally, the best way to receive something is human to human, but we wanted to create this desk reference. So it's a little bit provocative in that way, but I believe that uh, the spirit of guidance is working all the time. Yes, it can come through a master teacher, but if you can't find that master teacher, then you look to your heart and you look for guidance. So I would suggest entering the stream of the book and then follow your guidance and start to practice. And I feel your practice will educate you on what's been useful for you and not. Be practical, use common sense. So that's how I would do it. And if you wanted to look at the organization of the book, I would read the first few chapters as introduction. Then the most important chapter is chapter 5 of the book, because it's a summary of all the 99 names. So in a concise form, you have 2 paragraphs on every name. And I feel that's the chapter you will use the most. And then also very important is the names don't appear in alphabetical order. And if you wanted to find them, you can go to the very end of the book. There's an appendix which has put the names in alphabetical order. And in that way you can see, oh, okay, this name appears on this page in the book. And right away you have a quick method to get to chapter 5. And then chapter 6 through whatever it is, 26, those are all going into depth what's in chapter 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Shabda. This is exactly what we need to have an overview over the whole book project. There is something very special you offer in this book, which changed my practice to quite some degree. And this is the pairing of sound practices. Can you say more about that? Why you do it, where it comes from, and for what purpose one should do that?
Yeah. So let me say that we are so thankful that this book has been translated into German, and we really have Jamila to thank for that. She worked over a year. So we have so much gratitude to you, Jamila. Thank you so much. Vielen Dank. Ausgezeichnet. Really wonderful. And so I think you're referring to an unusual practice that comes with these 99 names is the pairing of opposites. And so if I go back to when I first received these names, One of the names is God is the bringer of life, Ya Muhyi, and another one of the 90 names, God is the bringer of death, Ya Mumit. Now, after practicing for a while, I became a Sufi guide to others. I would never give someone the practice, God is the bringer of death, God is the bringer of death, to recite that. But now I would, because now I understand that when you put the two opposites together, you overcome the idea that that some things are good and some things are bad, that you start to realize everything is there for your awakening. So when you recite together, Ya Muhyi, Ya Mumit, Ya Muhyi, Ya Mumit, now you're invoking that it is the same blessing which is the bringer of life and the same blessing which is the bringer of death. It's the same one and only being, which is the source, the goal, and really the fabric of everything.
Something that strikes me again and again and makes me happy that we have the book in German now is the aspect of you going back, tracing it back from the Arabic language. So that I feel like for the future, this may add to peace in a very deep way. I guess you know what I want you to talk about.
Uh, we are so fortunate to live on planet Earth. I think we're a little bit narcissistic thinking that we are the only living, species, this planet. I think that would be naive since there's 500 million galaxies. But I think if I say it simply, uh, I call this my thumb, but the thumb doesn't really exist as a separate thing because it's part of my hand, or which doesn't really exist as a separate thing. There is no hand without it being attached to my arm, attached to my body, attached to my bloodstream, attached to the sun and the moon and the water and the fire, the earth, everything interdependent. And so especially all human beings on this planet, we are completely interdependent, like fingers on the hand. We're not separate. And because we live in different cultures and have different education, we've lost that sense. And so when you open your heart deeply, then you begin to feel your interdependence or your connectedness with all living things. And through the practice of these beautiful 99 names, that interdependence comes alive. And now, in this case, if you start to practice in Arabic, yes, you'll have cultural exchange with Muslim, but really speaking, you'll understand your interdependence with all of life.
Thank you, Shabda, for all these insights and inspirations concerning the book.
Ja, wunderschön. Bleibt gesund. Blessings on each and every one of you. I'm so happy the book is there in German. Uh, I hope I can come to Germany again and again and enjoy the company of my German family and enjoy German food and German culture and the beauty of the Holy Land of Germany. And God bless you all.
Thank you.